opportunities available in a career in accounting and how you can start that journey through an apprenticeship. Joining us today in this event, which is part of our Discover series, are Kaplan and Azetts. I'm Sam, your event host and part of the Get My First Job team, and my colleague Danny is also here co-hosting with me and will be on hand to help answer your questions, as well as the Kaplan and Azetts team. Okay, I'll just leave that running, and if Matt, you'd like to have your slides ready from Kaplan?
Yeah, I can indeed.
Lovely, thank you. Brilliant, thank you very much.
Firstly, thank you for inviting us to come and speak today. Hopefully, we'll be able to give you some useful insight into sort of careers in accountancy. I myself, too many years ago, were in the same position you are, deciding whether or not to go to university, whether to go and get an apprenticeship, whether I wanted a career in accountancy, full stop. And I actually applied for some jobs as a plumber and some jobs as an accountant, and ended up getting a job as an accountant. And here I am 15, 18 years later, still in the career. So it is a great career. And hopefully we can maybe convince you of that, or give you some insights into a career in accountancy now. So just quickly, Kaplan are a training provider. In fact, we are the world's largest diversified training company. Outside of the UK, we do a lot of equivalent of test prep training, all sorts of training, English language training. But the real thing at the heart of everything we do is hopefully making learning enjoyable, and using evidence to ensure that our learning is the most efficient as possible. So we do that with our apprenticeships by combining our courses, which you can study in the classroom online, with experience that you'll get in a workplace such as Azetts. So apprenticeships themselves are a little bit confusing. They're not necessarily clear on what an apprenticeship is. So I've got a nice diagram to try and explain it. It is a little bit cluttered, so just bear with me. And I'll explain what an apprenticeship is, or hopefully try to explain what an apprenticeship is. So in order to be an accountant, in order to get into accountancy, you're going to do a professional qualification. And that professional qualification could be ICAW, AAT, CIMA, ACCA, let's say them all now, CTA, ATT. It could be any one of the professional qualifications. SITFA, I might have missed one out. If I've missed one out, somebody else can add it in later on. But you're going to get a professional qualification. And traditionally, firms would support you in going through and getting that professional qualification. They would potentially fund you to do that, or you would fund yourself and you would pay yourself to go through and do it. But what an apprenticeship does is takes that professional qualification and adds into it some skills and behaviors. So I've got the example here of the level 4 AAT qualification. And if you look at the light blue line there, it's got some letters on it. Don't worry about that. But that is the professional qualification. So whatever professional qualification you would be doing, you would slot it in there, be it ICAW, ACCA, CIMA, whichever qualification you'd pick, you'd slot it in there with the blue line. And what we then do is wrap around support to make sure and give you the best chance of getting through your professional qualification. So what you see here in the green is some skills training, skills and behaviors training. So to become an accountant, you don't just need to know how to actually do the technical stuff, but you need to know how to work with other people in your team. You need to know how to communicate that internally and externally. You need to know how to work with your clients. So there's lots of other skills and behaviors that you'll need to develop throughout your training period. And that's what we'll do. We'll work with your employer to go through and make sure that you're developing in those certain skills. So you can see the first one that we concentrate on there is communication. And that would be both verbal communication, written communication, and we would train you that through a number of different skills. Some of the workplace training that you would do with the company that you're employed with, but also some modules that we'll go through and give you examples of situations you might be in and how you might deal with that particular situation. We've got a nice little example of a group of people called the Accountables, and you'll follow these Accountables through their career, through these offices, and you'll make a number of decisions, and dependent on your decision you make in a particular scenario, it will play that out, and you'll see how it sort of pans out throughout the experience. But as you can see, all the way throughout your course, we're going to be peppering it with skills and behaviors training so that you can really build out that skill. And then the other line that you'll see there is this yellow line. It's a dotted line. And that really is you just building up your portfolio and example. One of the key differences between an apprenticeship and just a professional qualification is that the apprenticeship is there to make sure that you are a fully all-rounded apprentice, you're an all-rounded accountant, and you've got all of the skills that you need to progress. So when you get towards the end of your apprenticeship, you go through something called the EPA, or the endpoint assessment. And at that EPA, you will not only get tested on your sort of final skills that you've built up throughout your knowledge, so the professional qualification, but you'll also be asked to give some examples of how you've applied that in the workplace. And you'll have to go through and answer a number of questions, depending on which level you're doing it. You might do that through a discussion. You may do that through some written submissions. And you'll go through and you'll bring together examples of exactly what you've done and how you've applied that in your workplace. So that's the apprenticeship itself. The last thing to mention is these sort of bullet points, if you like, or targets that are in every now and then. And that's just there to as check-ins to make sure that you're sort of progressing okay. So one of the great things about all apprenticeships is that you'll have a coach to take you through and guide you through. So they'll be making sure that you're doing your exams in the right order, that you're progressing through, that you're developing all of the skills and behaviors. And if at any point they feel that you're falling behind and you need some extra support, then they'll reach out to your line manager at work. They'll really reach out to your Kaplan account manager. They might even reach out for some extra support. So maybe you need some additional learning support. Maybe there's something there, such as dyslexia, that's stopping you from progressing on. You need some additional support from us. Well, your talent coach will be there to help identify that and offer the support as and when you need it. So that's a little bit about sort of apprenticeships as a whole. I'm now just going to quickly talk about routes into accountancy. So there's lots of routes into accountancy, and they all end up in the same place, but they take different time to get there. And this is a very boring slide, so apologies about the slide. I pulled it together just at the end of last week, but it's a real nice summary of your routes into a career in accountancy. And what you'll notice about all of these different routes is that they end up with the level 7 qualification. So the very final accountancy qualification that you're looking to get would be a level 7 qualification, and that would either be your ACCA, your CIMA, your ICAEW, or your CTA qualifications. And to be honest, which qualification you do will depend on what type of business you're working in, whether you're working in accountancy practice, whether you're working in tax, or maybe you're working for an industry organization. And I would suggest you go away and do some research, or maybe reach out to me or to Kaplan or someone on this call and find out a little bit more about the different types of accountancy roles you can get. The other thing that's key for this is that there's a big time difference here. I actually did this one. This route was my one. I went for the quickest route. I'm not saying that that's the best option. That certainly isn't the best option, but I did this route here. But there's lots of different routes. And the key thing is that by the time you get to the end of the qualification, you'll have that qualification. But there's a number of stopping points throughout. And I've tried to highlight that with the green. So the green are qualifications that you can fall back on. And that's really important, because if you jump straight into option 4, and you go straight into a level 7, then that's the qualification that you're going to get. If you find that too tough and might fall off track, then you've got nothing to fall back on. You can't change your career. So the sort of the safest option, if you like, is this option 5. Okay, that's going to give you the most to fall back on. You go through your GCSEs, you do your A levels, you go to university, you get your experience there, you get a degree, and you've got all of those qualifications then to fall back on. But it's going to take you the longest amount of time. If though you know exactly what you want to do, I've been brought up in accountancy, my mum and my dad are accountants, everyone's going to be, I've been thinking about this ever since I started primary school. Well, then you can go down the route of actually get your A levels and go straight into a level 7. If you're able to get that opportunity to do it and you've got the A level grades to allow you to do that. And then there's ones in between. So you can, option 1, you can not do your A levels and go straight into a career in accountancy. Yes, there's an option there, but again, you haven't got things to fall back on. The great thing about A levels is that it allows you to open a number of doors. And the same with a degree, it opens up a lot of doors. That said, if you get to the end point and you get your level 7 qualification, your professional qualification, then that is the same as a master's degree. So that's actually higher than the degree. A degree is classified as level 6. So it's classified as a master's qualification. It's a professional qualification. And with that badge, you can get into a lot of careers, both inside accountancy and in other forms. I know people that have gone into banking. I know people that have set up their own business. I've got an ex-student that set up his own brewery. I've also got an ex-student that set up their own chain of beauty therapy salons as well. So once you've actually got that badge at the end, the qualification does open doors. Of course, I've also got lots and lots of students that have progressed on through the firms they worked with, and they're now partners and directors of accountancy firms as well. So with that, I think I answered one of the questions that came up, and I can pass over to the next one, unless anyone's got any questions, or we're going to do questions at the end.
We have got one question. Normally we do save questions until the end, but I think we'll probably try and answer this one now. So we've got a candidate that said that they did a level 2 in accounting at college but didn't like it, but now they want to go on and do a level 3. So what are the kind of options in terms of, you know, you've already sort of started that level 2 at college to go into an apprenticeship? Yeah,
so that's not a problem at all. If you, depending on how you did on it, would obviously suggest whether or not you're gonna continue to progress well, but you can go straight into a level 3. So you don't have to complete the level 2. So if you didn't finish it, that's not a problem. You can go into a level 3 and do an apprenticeship with the AAT in level 3.
Lovely, thank you. And then just one more, I suppose, before we move on. Can you do a level 7 qualification in less than 36 months?
You can, but there wouldn't necessarily be a huge amount of purpose between doing it. So to get your professional qualification, you need to have 3 years worth of experience. So that covers the 36 months. So if you were, for example, to go in after a degree, you could potentially get exemptions from some of the professional qualification and do it slightly quicker. So you might be able to do it over 24 months, for example. However, you wouldn't at that point be able to apply for membership to the professional qualification body until you get your 3 years worth of experience. So yes, you can do it quicker, but it won't mean you progress on quicker in your career.
Brilliant. Thanks, Matt, for that. That was very insightful. We're now going to pass over to Azette, who will be taking over the next part of the event.